Hello and welcome to today's session on Augmentative and Alternative Communication, or AAC, for the classroom. This webinar is brought to you by the Trim CDNT Speech and Language Therapy Department. Whether you're already supporting students who use AAC or you're just beginning to explore it, this workshop is designed to build your confidence and to give you practical strategies that you can use every day in your classroom. We're going to share information on what AAC is and why it's such a vital part of inclusive education, the ways we communicate, and understanding the means, reasons, and opportunities model, how AAC supports communication, so we'll talk about techniques like access, modelling, and what vocabulary to use. Then we'll also discuss practical classroom strategies to help your students use AAC naturally and confidently throughout the day. By the end, you'll have a solid foundation in what AAC looks like in practice and how you can best support your learners. So let's start with the basics. What is AAC? AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. This refers to any method of communication other than speech that allows a person to express themselves. So this may be from gestures and symbols to picture boards, communication books, or a speech generating device. Important to realise that AAC doesn't replace speech, it supports communication. And it's important to remember that everyone uses AAC in some way day to day. When we point, use facial expressions, text on our phone, all of that is augmentative communication. AAC can be broken down into two categories, aided and unaided. Aided is when we use additional equipment like writing, a voice output device, an app, a visual support, whereas unaided refers to the communication intrinsic to your body, so your facial expressions, body movements, gestures, or love signs. The modes of AAC that the child uses depends on the child's communication preferences and needs. So a lot of you are probably already using AAC from a classroom-wide level to individual communication programs or devices with individual kids. Examples of AAC include your no-tech AAC, so that would be like your law of science. Low-tech AAC refers to communication boards, communication books, pain boards, choice boards, visual schedules, your first then boards or objects of reference. And high-tech AAC refers to the communication devices or the switches. Some of the communication apps you might have heard of already could be Grid, ProLoco to Go, TD Snap, or LAMP are often heard. Here's a nice quote about AAC. Communication is a cooperative undertaking, and the successful use of AAC is as dependent on the communication partner as it is on the user. So this means that our role in communication as a communication partner is crucial. In order to teach someone to use their AAC device, we must use it ourselves. We have to provide the model, the encouragement, and give the person opportunities to allow them to succeed. To understand AAC better, we can think about the three parts of communication. So we have the means, the reasons, and the opportunities. The means, that refers to how we communicate. So be that through speech, gestures, devices, symbols. The reasons are why we communicate. So we communicate to ask or to refuse, to share some information, to comment on something, or just to connect with others. And your opportunities, that refers to when you're communicating, where, and with whom. Successful and positive communication happens at the start. So AAC is about ensuring the child has a little bit of all of these three circles. For example, I might need a lift to training because my car is in the garage. So the means I would use to communicate would be maybe to ring a teammate or to text them or to go over to their house and ask them. the opportunities might be having teammates to communicate with or living near them, or my involvement in the club or group. Think about your students in this way. Does your student have a way to show you what they want, or do you need to help them use their AAC device or their objects or visual signs or whatever it is that they use? Do they have reasons to communicate? So, what are the things that motivate them to communicate? If everything they need can be easily reached, they'll have no need to learn to ask for it. And when you get to know your students so well, it can be very easy to anticipate what your student wants because you know what they likely are asking for. But this can take away reasons for communication. So often you need to kind of plan and create reasons for communication. So this might include offering a choice to the students to give them a reason to communicate, even if perhaps you're sure what the student will likely choose. It's still giving them that reason. Opportunities as well will require lots of planning, so you need to give that child lots of opportunities to communicate with you. For an AAC user, the circles are smaller and it makes them difficult to overlap in the middle. An AAC user has less access to means, reasons, and or opportunities for communication. So if we take their means, they might not use speech or typing or writing or sign language or any body language. Their reasons to communicate, well, they might not value small talk or friendships or greetings, sharing their news, enjoying that kind of human interaction the way perhaps you or I would. Opportunities, they might not be involved in the groups or clubs. They might not enjoy the outings to the shops or the cafes or the restaurants, so they have a smaller circle. However, a communication partner can really boost and provide a lot of support in each of these areas. Really, the communication partner is the main factor for successful AAC use. So it's the communication partner's job to support these moments of effective communication a lot of the time. We look at the communication functions then. So often the first perhaps function of communication that a child may do is to request things. But communication really kind of rapidly moves on from this. And we don't just communicate with each other to request, to say, I want, or I'd like. We also need to communicate to express our opinions, to protest something or disagree, to ask questions or to comment on things. So all of this needs to be kind of highlighted when a child is using AAC as well. Just to remember that it's not just for making requests. Some of the golden rules of using an AAC device to think about. So taking your time is such a big one. You need time to get to know that child's AAC device. So practice on it, share messages with the child, keep that conversation going. And really worthwhile just taking a little while to get to know where certain vocabulary and words are on the device, because this is going to make it a lot easier for you to model later on. You don't have time to learn where every single word is. We do understand that. But becoming a little bit more familiar with it and knowing where a few words are is likely just going to make you feel more confident when you're using it with the child. There is some planning involved, so successful use of AAC won't just happen overnight. You need to plan to make it successful. So plan a little activity or scenario that you could use the device in, plan, the vocabulary that the student might need, plan what you are going to say and model to the student. Do ask questions if you're unsure. This is new to all of us. Ask a family member, the SLT, or the software provider that provided the device and the app. There's lots of useful resources online as well, which I will share with you later. Children learn to talk with their device. So the same as when they learn to communicate with words or signs, they need to see adults and their peers doing it in order for them to copy. So they need to see people using the device in order for them to copy that. You should have the device charged and available at all times. Have a backup. We know that technology lets us down. It's not reliable, so don't throw away the lower tech visuals that were once very helpful to the child. Setting manageable goals for the device use in school, and include this within the IEP just to make sure it's really highlighted. Help the child to use the device by giving prompts. We're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking at the little steps to increase the child's independence using it. And as I'd mentioned already, use the device for more than just requesting. Think about all those communication functions that we can use it for. So I'm going to talk about access. So access means making sure that the AAC system is available and functional at all times. Your voice says the things that you want to say, and this is the exact same for our AAC users. So a really crucial step in the AAC process is making sure that the child has an AAC, access to AAC across their environment, so not just in one or two environments. The device shouldn't be left in the cupboard or in a bag. It's too hard to get. So consider maybe using a stand or a mount that just makes it more accessible. Obviously, the child can't use the device if the battery is dead. So making sure that there's a nice routine with parents that the device is charged at night time. If the AAC system is only available during the morning or at lunchtime or certain times of the day, that's not useful for the child when they don't have it. All, school staff, home family are responsible for making AAC available. So there should always be a plan for when it isn't. I know at school, and it's very understandable, we have things to teach. This can be done in conjunction with AAC through connected interactions. So there isn't, that expectation on the child to that they have to use AAC during their work. It's important not to make AAC feel like work. It won't become someone's voice if it does feel like work or if it's that bit harder. I also want to highlight the guided access function on a lot of devices. So that function makes sure that the child can't exit the specific communication app to explore other kind of device functions. And we want to keep these devices for communication only. So that guided access function can be very helpful. I know that AAC can be very difficult in a demanding classroom environment to implement. And this can be a potential barrier to successful implementation of AAC. But it does start with access. If the AAC isn't accessible, you can't model, the learner can't use it. So if the first thing to do is try to problem solve access in all contexts with all people. So in all places, people. If it's noisy, what will you do? If the child is fatigued, what will you do? Here are some examples of access goals that you might consider just to start off with. So at the individual child's level, just making sure that AAC is taken out of the bag each morning, and you're taking those steps to make sure that the child has a voice right from the beginning of the day. And making sure that the AAC is charged and available in the classroom. So again, you have that routine set up with parents to make sure that it's charged at night time while the child is asleep. And then at a whole school level, I know many of you might be using, lots of lovely AAC within the classroom, like your visual schedules, your first STEM boards, your choice boards, objects of reference, law of the devices. But we just need to plan for when the AAC users leave the classroom. They have to have these strategies accessible to them in the corridor, on yard as well. So making sure that you have those nice communication boards out on yard, or that staff have their lanyards on, so the child is kind of always close to some AAC that they can use. So I'm going to move on to motor planning. You may have heard SLTs advising that we leave the vocabulary kind of where it is on the device, so try not to go swapping it around or deleting it. If you think about it this way, when you use your phone, you know exactly where all of your apps are. But if someone was to move that all around, you'd suddenly be lost. And that's what we call motor planning. So your brains and your hands remember where things are, and AAC works the exact same way. Once a child learns where the words are on the device, we shouldn't change their location because that's where their brain remembers. Some people feel like, oh God, there's so much vocabulary on the device, but we always want to provide a larger amount of language so that you can keep providing more models and expand the child's language skills as they grow. So I'm going to talk about modelling next, one of our most powerful AAC strategies. Everyone in a child's life needs to model as much as possible during everyday activities to help them use their system to the best of their ability. So basically, modeling means we use the child's A system while we are talking to them. So to model, point to or you select words on the device as you talk, showing the child how communication happens. Everyone in the child's life, so their teachers, their SMAs, their parents, should model as much as possible in natural contexts. So I'm just going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you a YouTube video next.
Go? Go. Make it go. Yay! Good job, Philip. Do you know what we're going to make?
Make.
What are we going to make?
Make.
Do you know?
No.
You don't know?
No.
That's okay. I'll tell you. We're going to make cookies. Cookies. Do you love cookies? Mm-hmm. Russell, do you love cookies?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go over here because when we make our cookies, the first things, look, we're going to go to colors. Colors, because we're going to put in some brown sugar. Who wants to put in the brown sugar?
Me.
You do? Okay, Russell's going to put in the brown sugar. Very good. Philip, do you want to put in some sugar? Yes? Okay, let's look over here. There's one more sugar left. Let me show you. Here's the sugar that needs to go back. This is white.
White.
It's white sugar. And let's go to core. You can say, I want to put it in. Yes, good job. Okay, Philip, here. You can put it in. Yay, very good. All right. I think that it's time to use the mixer. This is going to be so cool. Are you ready to help?
Help.
Help. You're going to help with the mixer. Okay, so I'm going to hold it. And then you guys are going to make it go. Okay, I'm going to hold it here and you guys just hold down that button. Make it go. What do you think? Gotta make it go, go, go.
So you can see that video, her modelling wasn't perfect, but it's about showing the child and not testing him. Even if the child doesn't respond to what you're modelling, they're learning every time you model. You'll also notice that she didn't model every word, just the kind of key words in her sentence. And that's exactly what we're looking for. This is a nice quote or a kind of reference to just highlight how much modelling is required and how important it is. So by 18 months, babies have heard 4,380 hours of spoken language, and we don't expect them to be fluent speakers even after all that modelling. AAC users, if they only see the symbols being modelled for twice a week for about 20 or 30 minutes, it's going to take them 84 years to have the same exposure to aided language that 18-month-old baby had. So a lot of modelling is required. So if you feel like you're doing enough, do more. So when we're thinking about how to model, first of all, you're observing the child and what they're paying attention to, and you're thinking in your head, okay, what kind of message could I model to them right now? What's going to be motivating for them? Think about the child's language level. So the SLT will support with this, but it basically means, if the child is only pressing single buttons, you don't go, modeling a whole sentence for them. You kind of match them where they're at or just above where they're at. Do familiarize yourself before you start modeling. Sometimes the moment can be lost if you're searching for that button. So get to know the AAC or the kind of whereabouts of the vocabulary that you need are. And just practice with it. Give it a go. If it doesn't work, you can make some tweaks and try again. We do advise that you model in natural contexts, so kind of try to move away from the highly structured activities and try to model instead, AAC during routines like your circle time or your playtime, song time, and more unstructured routines like snack time as well. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it and it's too much, to be modeling all the time, try to pick one routine just to start with. So, for example, circle time, and focus on that modeling strategy to begin with. Depending on the student, you might pick, a specific communication function to model. So, if they're already making lots of requests, maybe you can model some comments just to increase your goal could be to increase how many times you comment within an activity. So some comments you might make is, oh, I like this. This is fun. There are 4 different ways that you can model. So say, for example, you are modeling during snack time. First, you could model what the child is doing. So you could say, oh, you got the banana, and model got or banana. Then if the child hands the banana to you, you could model want open and those 2 buttons. You're kind of interpreting their message that way. Then you could model what you will do. So you could say, I will cut it. You model cut or I cut. Then if the child says finished, you could expand on that and you could say, finish now, time to play, and model play. And just repeat this as often as possible. There are some common misconceptions around modelling, so I'll go through some of these now. Some people think you have to model each word, whereas we would advise that just modelling the keywords is absolutely perfect. It's completely okay to make mistakes, and this is expected as well, but this will just help you learn. It can be hard to get the child's attention all the time, but you would be surprised at what they take in, so keep going with the modelling. Again, try to model during activities that are really motivating for the child and that when you have kind of grabbed their attention. It might be hard to model without expectation, and you might be really tempted to say to the child, come on, you do it now, but do keep going with this. Try to model those functions beyond requesting, so modeling your comments, modeling your questions, modeling your greetings also. The child shouldn't be made to copy you, keep just modeling without that expectation. When the child starts using the device more independently, some people's tendency is to give up on the modeling and let the child just do what they can. But this is really when we should start modeling longer phrases and introduce new communication functions like questions. One model is not enough. We need to model multiple repetitions. So we have some examples of modeling here in the classroom. So modeling during your circle time, during a reading activity, or during play. Start small by just setting a modeling goal within one activity, and then little by little build that kind of communication friendly culture within your class where the modeling is provided throughout the day. Let's look now at core versus fringe vocabulary. So your core words are kind of common, flexible words. Examples would be like go, want, more, or stop. Whereas fringe words are more specific. So words like McDonald's or iPad. Both are important, but we would recommend focusing on the core words because this gives students language that they can use everywhere across scenarios, not just for specific items or activities like the fringe words. Again, just coming back to modeling where you feel the child's language learning is. So if the child is only kind of, using single buttons, you would kind of model at this level, or you might think about just moving one step up by modeling a 2-word combination just to keep expanding their language. But you wouldn't go modeling a big long sentence. Whereas if the child is already using 2-word combinations by themselves, then you might begin to just model one extra button each time. If they're only using the device for requests, you would maybe model just one beyond that and start focusing on comments and really, trying to include as many comments as possible. If they have, a very small range of vocabulary that they use the device for, you wouldn't go using lots and lots and lots of vocabulary, but you would try to expand that range by a couple of buttons at a time. We as SLTs can support you to identify the child's individual language level, so do reach out to the child's local SLT to support you with this if you're not sure what level you should be modelling at. We're now going to go through some practical activities or ideas that you can use the AAC for. So arriving to school, the first time you'll see a child in the day, you could use AAC for greetings. The child could say, hi, teacher. You could use it for yes or no questions. So did you walk? Yes or no. Did you come on the bus? Yes or no. The child could use it for choice making. So choosing who they want to sit beside, asking for help if they need help getting off their coat. These small natural opportunities really build up the communication. The device can also be used during class break. So the user can give answers using their device, and they could ask for help or say when something is difficult. That's a nice comment. They could use the device to take turns in group activities. So my turn, your turn. Using visual supports to kind of transition between tasks. So they could get to choose the next task, or they use the visual to predict what's going to come. A nice show and tell activity is also sometimes used, and that's nice for practicing describing or commenting on AAC. Could also use phrase-based modelling at, a time like snack time. And so practicing phrases like all finished or time to eat. You could name, people or food, or you could use some descriptive comments like yummy or cold. Snack time is a lovely time for practicing that natural conversation with AAC. Moving on to prompting then. So prompting is really kind of giving gentle cues to encourage communication. You would kind of wait and observe initially just to kind of plan what sort of prompts will be required. And you model from the child's perspective. The goal is always to kind of promote the child who use AAC more independently, not perfect, but you're working through the following steps to help them use it more independently. So we kind of can think of prompting as a lead hierarchy. So say you give the child 2 or 3 options to choose from, and expecting them to imitate straight away, they might. So the first thing you do is give the child time just to process what the task is, what's being asked of them, or maybe to consider their options. If the child doesn't respond, you might give a verbal prompt like, oh, maybe you've something to tell me, or could you tell me with your talker? Then you might do a gestural prompt, like gesturing or pointing towards the device or nudging it towards the child. And then you might provide the model yourself. The fewer prompts that are needed, the closer we are to getting genuine conversation. So do give each of these steps time and waiting time between each step to see, can the child do it with fewer prompts? So just to recap on all of that then, your child won't learn if they can't see you using the device too. All models is good models, and you can never have enough models. And don't worry about the grammar, just focus on the keywords of your sentence as you talk. Now let's think about your own classroom routines and opportunities. And we're going to look at how we can create more classroom opportunities to use AAC. So I'd encourage you to just look at the schedule that you already use. So things like circle time, yard time, snack time, transitions, and ask yourself, okay, what words can we model a little bit more within this activity, but which words can be modeled across lots of activities and repeated across routines? So you could look at some structured communication that happens every day. So maybe you kind of ask the same questions in circle time or at song time. You have your unstructured activities like using it around snack time or lunch or the playground. This can be a particularly motivating child or time to make choices or to make comments. And you could use it during sensory activities. So the child could request or make some comments again. They could say, oh, that's nice, or I like that. Your workstation activities are a lovely time. Again, you're making choices and comments, or even within games as well. Can be nice. I would start small, even choose 3 core words for your week and intentionally model them across activities. And over time, it'll just become really consistent and kind of spread throughout the day. We talked about other considerations like the core versus the fringe vocabulary and the different communication functions. So now it's just talking about how you put that modelling into practice and in the real world of the classroom. We would try to recommend that you get about 200 models of a word per day. And that happens very naturally with speech and gesture. We just need to be a little bit more mindful to also model it on an AAC device or a visual as well. I have included some useful references for you. There's some excellent online resources out there for you to explore. And so some of these kind of provide practical demonstrations of AAC in action, perfect for refreshing your own skills or sharing them with other classroom teams. You'll also find links to editing tutorials. So these ones are for Grid, and we also have some for TD Snap. They're fantastic for deepening your understanding and connecting with other educators who are passionate about AAC as well. So that kind of brings us to the end of the main content. I just ask you to reflect on your own practice at the minute. And is there one thing you can identify that you could do differently in the room even from tomorrow? Can you build in, more opportunities for AAC for your learners? Is that done by giving them more access to their AAC or providing more modelling? It's all about progress here. We're not aiming for perfection, but every single model, every single extra opportunity the child gets, every attempt to improve your knowledge around using AAC in the classroom really does matter. It's about giving that child a voice and ensuring that they're heard, understood, and included in every kind of part of the school life. Because teachers work so closely with these children, you play a very powerful role in being that communication partner. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn and reflect and grow. It will be of huge benefit to your children who use AAC.